Next company is Waterotor. We have funded Waterotor. I think there are a couple rounds we did. And Fred Ferguson is here with Jonathan Paquette. The Waterotor is a hydrokinetic energy company that has developed a unique energy capture device to generate accessible, affordable, renewable power from slow-moving water. The company founded in 2011 is positioning itself to supply affordable electricity to those without power and those that depend on diesel and other fossil fuels. I mentioned how you did it on your letters of intent when I was on the panel, because I think that is most impressive, Fred, in terms of those LOIs, and hopefully they're still out there. So tell us your story.
Yeah, good, thanks. Glad to be here. Glad to meet everyone. And welcome to Hydrokinetics, basically flat moving water, which is where we basically are extracting energy. So the brief slide show I have here brings everybody up to date. Waterotor was founded in 2011, and basically we've kept a fairly low profile. We've done a huge amount of testing in a number of different locations and rivers, and I'll get into the breakthrough on that. So right now, as we all know, the world is basically consuming an awful lot of energy that's fossil fuel, gas, oil, coal, and it's probably increasing to some degree. About 65% of the planet is running on those types of energy, whereas the balance is, of course, hydro, nuclear, and a little bit, about 10 or 11%, I think, is solar and wind at the moment. And of course, it's increasing. Where we come into this, and you don't see it on the chart, is basically hydrokinetic or flat water. So over the last 11 years, from 2011, I founded the company. It was based upon my many years in aerospace with a private company, and the fact that I had some breakthrough areas in flow dynamics and lightweight structures, etc. So Waterotor was formed where we already knew that we had a technology that was a breakthrough. We raised approximately $25 million over that period of time. About 10 of that, well, actually now probably a little more than 10 of that, was funds that I put in at the initiation. And then through individuals, mainly friends and neighbors and what have you, they bought equity. There's no long-term debt in the company. The bottom line and where we're moving out to right now is the fact that we are going to be able to show and have a very good ability to demonstrate the low end of the scale in terms of cost per kilowatt hour coming out. That's really our objective. And of course that means that the economic revenue base at that type of pricing is extremely large. I will point out that we are just a small company. We have no interest in manufacturing. It's all about licensing, potential consortium, and fairly sizable exit in as little as the next 18 months. One of the notable areas that we basically got involved with was in Winnipeg. We did a demonstration with 3 units that ran over a year under the ice continually without any interference at all in a 4-mile-an-hour situation, which was for the Canadian Navy. Their interest is to basically use these up north and to change the electrical footprint up there. We were actually producing power for these new electric boat motors that the Coast Guard, etc., are going to be using, and that was the primary demonstration. But the real picture that interested the Navy was being able to supplement energy up north, and also to be able to power certain types of covert or non-visible drones. And they came to us basically wanting to give us a try. Our breakthrough is the fact that we can extract energy below 6.5 miles an hour, where propellers, turbines, foils, Darius, etc., as was attested to by Lockheed and their experiment of $69 million in the North Sea, proved to them that low drag, high lift type foil devices require in water at least 6.5 miles per hour, and that as they move into slower water, you end up like a wing on a plane getting into a stall situation. Our technology is a combination, it's a breakthrough in a very new, it was referred to as a new era. which is the combination of both ram and lift occurring simultaneously, where you get a very high coefficient of power. And I'll talk about that in a moment. At the same time, that's what gave us the lead into our patents, with the first patenting goes back to 2011. Very extensive and heavily fenced. Over 110 countries are issued. And then in 2018, we went into a vertical system. I don't know if you can see me there, but this is one of our blades that was in the Navy demonstration. This, in a 5 and 5.5 mile an hour flow, is a 600-piece rotomolded device. $600. We own the molds with RTS Plastics. We call up, send us one, send us a few. They fit together like a Lego. And in the structures, which can either be horizontal and more recently vertical, this blade alone cuts a 6-foot diameter, could actually power a North American home in a 5 mile an hour flow. But as we move along in this slide deck, the output curve of energy is completely flat, which you don't find with other types of hydrokinetic devices, meaning at 1 mile an hour we're extracting a little over 50% of the available energy, and at 10 or more miles an hour, a little over 50% of the available energy. The sweet spot from an economic point of view is around 4 miles per hour, which gives us the ability to basically be in non-competitive land. These are pictures of an example vertical system, which has all the electrics and the generators above the water. This is a multiple unit system. This is an illustration, but this is the direction we're moving towards as we move to the next slide. Right now, we are planning on building out these floating devices. Why? Because they can be built at a very low capital cost, both in a 10 kilowatt size and in the 100 kilowatt sizes. The nice thing about these is the projections, even on a small number, 20 of the 10 kilowatt units will come out at about just under 20 cents per kilowatt hour as a prototype system being put into a commercial application as a demonstration. Beyond that, you can see the numbers drop by a factor of 5 times. The third project which we've been working on is called the Big Cajun, and all of these projects are being initiated at the Port of New Iberia in Louisiana, where we have facilities. 20 megawatt Big Cajun is a real breakthrough in terms of marine energy extraction. And just as the last presenter brought up, this is a system that not only provides 20 megawatts of trunked power, meaning to either operate ships, industrial ships, etc., but it's also a type of design that easily could basically produce green hydrogen if far enough offshore. All of the gyres and streams on this planet run at around in the 4 mile an hour area, and that's our sweet spot. In fact, that was the beginning. Having lived in Palm Beach and fishing in that area, I realized that that was the market we had to keep focusing on. This is a very simple cost analysis and the program that we have ahead. Over the last year, BDO did a financial analysis based upon the strength and the huge amount of patenting and the proof, the absolute proof on so many situations, including the world's largest flow tank, gave us a valuation at a 40% discount of $114 million. The largest patent company, assessment company in the world said we were 4 to 5 times more valuable than the next best hydrokinetic company that's working out there. Most of them are in the propeller field. This is just a simple market slide. It shows how potentially large the market is. It's interesting to note that diesel gensets, there's nearly 1 billion of them running on the planet right now, and they're all running at over 40 cents per kilowatt hour, and that's a big breakthrough that we've maintained a focus on for Indonesia, the Bahamas. A number of different countries have come forward wanting to discuss licensing for manufacturing and distribution. My executive team is substantial. Terry Lyons is our chairman. He was a lead director with Canaccord, the largest commercial finance company in Canada. David Laird is my CFO. He was my CFO in the aerospace in the 80s. He went on to be executive vice president of Price Waterhouse. Dr. Michael Palmer is not our corporate lawyer, but our executive VP, but he is a lawyer. He watches over all the patenting activity. And of course, our lawyers, which is the Gates corporate law firm in the US. We've dealt with the companies below we use only contractors, and generally contractors that have the capability to warrant components into the product, because we are an engineering and a systems management company, and that's as far as we go. But we hold, unlike an engineer, we own the building, and that takes us to the point of basically what we're looking for as an exit. We'll always stay in the game, but with now about 200 shareholders and meeting SEC requirements and approval as a private company, our plan is to license on a global basis and or sell equity or sell the company as an exit. And now that we're becoming more visible, this will happen, especially with the building out of these units. We're raising $15 million as the last of the or founder common share round. It's at $5.78, which is substantially discounted. Typically, the investment minimum comes in at around $100,000 US, and of course, we're talking to at least now 4 major potential large investment groups. One of them that has asked that they would come in on a second position if we basically sign on the first, and I'm talking about half of the $15 million. So that's pretty much the story. More than happy to hear from anybody and get into detail.
That's good. Thank you, Fred. Unfortunately, we're out of time. So,
right.
But the poll has been up. See how you want to connect with Waterotor. It's a very good story, and they've got some great licensees lined up. Okay, thanks, Fred.